Boom! What's up, y'all? What's going on? Got a video here streaming live in about half an hour. So it's another one of those things where my only free time today, outside of being a big, hard studying boy, gotta be a big working, hard working, studying boy, live streaming, taking care of his people, responsible young man. Only time I have to do this is today, right now, in the morning. So we're gonna read Genesis 38 and 39. Which is one of the more bizarre pivots in the Bible. Maybe we'll glean today why the Lord saw it fit to throw this like incest story in between the parts of the Joseph story. Not sure, but chapter 39 is relatively short. So we're going to read 38 and 39, which is the story of Judah and Tamar, and Joseph, not sleeping with Potiphar's wife, but being accused. The first Me Too in the Bible incident, if you will. So let's go to the Lord in prayer, and let's get into Genesis. So Heavenly Father God, I just praise you right now, and thank you for your word, and thank you for opening our eyes and opening our ears to what your word says and what it teaches, God. And we know that it requires some deep digging sometimes, but also the simplicity of the important stuff about the faith is just a beautiful thing that can be gleaned. So we thank you for Christ. We thank you for his sacrifice on the cross. We thank you for the forgiveness of sins, and I thank you for other believers as well, that we can fellowship with them, that you've given us. I don't know, it's not a of course it's a personal relationship between us and you, but it's not a private religion. It's not a private faith. We have brothers and sisters that we can lean on. They can lean on us. So just thank you for all the blessings that you give us, God. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Okay. All right. Chapter 38 from Genesis. It happened at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adulamite. Gotta look up who the Adulamites are. I don't mean like you, as in I know the significance of it, but daughter, she's a Canaanite. Turn aside to a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. Guys, we've been talking about mixing with I forgot that Judah mixed with the Canaanite, dude. Let's just read. Okay, because I don't even know where Tamar actually comes out of this, but let's, I do want to look up at some point what an Adulamite is. All right, focus. It happened at the time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. He took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Er. She conceived again. It's funny, like called his name Er because he had made a mistake. That's not in the Bible. That one's free. You pay for the other stuff. You get jokes like that for free. This only makes sense if you're following along in the Bible and you see how it's spelled. He called his name Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she called his name Shelah. Judah was in Chezib when she bore him. Shelah was, I believe, we read about this a couple minutes ago with my mom. I think that's the son or grandson of Arphaxad, who was the son of Shem. Yeah, the first Shelah in the Bible is either the grandson or the great-grandson of Shem. Crazy. Not that the names reappear, but it's like, who knows that? All right, verse 6. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. So Tamar is a Canaanite. Tamar has Canaanite blood. So Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn. No. Tamar was married to Er. So Tamar does not have Canaanite blood, or at least it doesn't say it. And Judah took for a wife, okay, gotcha. So he mixes with the Canaanites, which is bad. But then he goes on to have sex with his daughter, right? What a mess. All right. And Judah, verse 6, we're never getting through this. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his. So whenever he went to his brother's wife, he would waste the semen on the ground, so as to not give offspring to his brother. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then that's interesting, because here God is banning. He's not looking well upon Canaanites mixing with whatever. I don't know. We don't know Tamar's lineage. We don't know what people group is from. Honestly, though, I tend to think that if they don't mention it, that means she's closely related to Israel. You know, so Canaan is a Hamite, of course. So I'll put it this way: if it doesn't mention it, I'll bet you that Tamar is a Semite, because you know they mention the exceptions and the outliers more often than not in the Bible. That's something I've really come to believe or come to notice about the Bible, that they mention things when they're special or when they're the exception. I mean, think about this. The thing you don't mention is usually the norm, just how people talk. But here is God saying that it's wicked to not breed Onan, who's half Canaanite. What a mess, dude. Can we go back like 30 chapters, dude? It made more sense. It made more sense then. But now everyone's intermarried, everyone's mixing, everyone's, good thing it's better now. Good thing these days are more pure. Verse 10. But what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house, till Shelah my son grows up, for he feared that he would die, for he feared that he would die like his brothers." So Tamar went and remained in her father's house. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua's daughter, died. When Judah was comforted, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And when Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep," she took off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, wrapping herself up, and sat at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she had not been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He turned to her at the roadside and said, "Come, let me come into you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me that you may come into me?" So she knew that she was him, though, right? He didn't know that she was his daughter, but she knew that was her father, right? "What will you give me that you may come into me?" 17. He answered, "I will send you a young goat from the flock." And she said, "If you give me a pledge until you send it." He said, "What pledge shall I give you?" She replied, "Your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand." So he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went away, taking off her veil she put on the garments of her widowhood. So she put on the veil over the garments of her widowhood. When Judah sent the young goat by his friend the Adullamite to take back the pledge from the woman's hand, he did not find her. And he asked the men of the place, "Where is the cult prostitute who is at Enaim on the roadside?" And they said, "No cult prostitute has been here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I have not found her." Also the men of the place said, "No cult prostitute has been here." And Judah replied, "Let her keep the things as her own, or we shall be laughed at. You see, I sent You see, I sent this young goat, and you did not find her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, Tamar, your daughter-in-law has been immoral. Moreover, she is pregnant by immorality. And Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. As she was being brought out, she sent word to her father-in-law, by the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. And she said, please identify whose these are, the signet and the cord and the staff. Then Judah identified them and said, she is more righteous than I, since I did not give her my son Shelah. And he did not know her again. When the time of her labor came, there were twins in her womb. And when she was in labor, one put out a hand. Well, this is why this is here. Yeah, Perez and Zerah are covered. Well, I mean, many. I'm not going to say there's only one reason, but Perez and Zerah have a significance later. The twins that come out. Yeah, the twins that result of the sin, you know. By the time of her labor came, there were twins in her womb. And when she was in labor, one put out a hand, and the midwife took and tied a scarlet thread on his hand, saying, this one came out first. But as he drew back his hand, behold, his brother came out. And she said, what a breach you have made for yourself. Therefore his name was called Perez. Afterward his brother came out with the scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was Zerah. Later today, during my YouTube time, I'm going to look up a sermon on that. You know, I'm sure many people have preached on the Judah and Tamar story, but I'm talking about specifically the Perez and Zerah scarlet thread thing. It's very interesting, mostly because I have no idea what it means. Okay, let's read chapter 39, Joseph and Potiphar's wife. So, back in 37, Joseph is bragging, Joseph saying, having these dreams, cool. He's the favored son of his father, and then he gets sold. They want to kill him, then they just put him into a pit. Then one of them convinces them to sell him. I think it's Judah that convinces him to sell them, and then Judah goes on to commit that sin in the next chapter. So now we're back in Egypt. Yeah, he's been sold in Egypt by the Midianites to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard. Okay, 39. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, it's Potiphar, right? And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had bought him from the Ishmaelites. Ishmaelites, Midianites, same thing, I'm not sure. Who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph. There's also some super large significance to Midian. And I mean, of course, it's what I think that's where this is what Michael Heiser says that the Magi are from. Hold that thought for like 6 months until we talk about Daniel and then Matthew. Okay, hold that for like 8, 9, 10 months, something like that. Just like a baby. Treat it like a baby. Hold it for 9 months. The end of verse 1 had bought him from the Ishmaelites who had bought him down there. Verse 2. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to succeed in his hands. So Joseph found favor in his sight and attended him, and he made him overseer of his house, and put him in charge of all that he had. From the time that he made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in house and field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him he had no concern about anything but the food he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance, and after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, Behold, because of me, my master has no concern about anything in this house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? He has put everything that he has in my church. This is like almost exactly it's almost the exact opposite or inverse of David and Bathsheba. That's why I'm kind of stopping at this. Because Nathan is like, he tells the story of a rich man who had all the sheep and stole the one sheep. And now here, Joseph is rebuking the woman, saying that he's given me everything except for this one thing. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Joseph's underrated, man. And so verse 10, and as she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not listen to her, to lie beside her, or to be with her. But one day, when he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was there in the house, she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got out of the house. And as soon as she saw that she had left his garment in her hand, and had fled out of the house, she called to the men of the household and said to them, see, he has brought among us a Hebrew to laugh at us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And as soon as he cried out, with a loud voice, 15, and as soon as he heard that, I lifted up my voice and cried out. He left his garment beside me and fled and got out of the house. Then she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she told him the same story, saying, the Hebrew servant whom you have brought among us came in to me to laugh at me. But as soon as I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment beside me and fled out of the house. As soon as the master heard the words that his wife spoke to him, saying, as soon as, and the word saying isn't there, but it's in quotes. So I'm going to say the word saying. I'm not trying to add to it, but it's confusing. As soon as his master heard the words that his wife spoke to him, saying, this is the way your servant treated me, his anger was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed. Good story. So yeah, next time we'll pick it up. Joseph will still be in prison, and he'll be interpreting the dreams. What is it? The cupbearer and the baker. Baker doesn't make it. It's too bad, man. It's too bad, man. The baker line needed to be carried on. You know what I'm saying? And then we have Joseph interpreting the dreams, and yeah, we're just on a quest to get through Genesis by the end of the month. It's gonna happen. I mean, but once it does, we're gonna pivot to something else. I'm really tired today, guys. I mean, I was doing homework till late night, and then I love to blame it on that. But really what I did is I watched an hour or two of videos after. So stupid, man. Just so stupid, dude. I need fascism implemented on my life. Kim Jong-un, are you listening? Kim Jong-un, I will voluntarily give up my 3 phones for crops and bread. Kim Jong-un, I crave the simple life. Take my phone, enslave me so I can get a clean 8 hours of sleep. Mr. Kim Jong, let's play golf. So, anyway, couple announcements. The Daily Notice live stream is back. We're on week 2 of it. It was supposed to be an experiment. Now it's not. Well, the experiment failed. We ended it early. It's now just, this is the new life. This is the new normal. Wear your masks. Take your injections. So 10 a.m. I'm streaming in about 15 minutes. That's right. And big announcement: Patriot Jam tickets are now on sale. The links are not in the description or anything yet. So I'm going to try to do it quick, but I haven't. I launched the site, the Eventbrite page last night, and I haven't put the links in descriptions. But this is an announcement that they will be in the description. And if you keep watching these videos, you'll find the link. But on Eventbrite, or if you go to the Twitter page at Patriot Jam Fest, or if you go to my Twitter at JRNormus, I've retweeted the link. It's $20 for general admission, and if you feel like coming the night before, it's $50 for the social event the night before. There'll be some pizza, and you'll get to meet some of the artists that are there. It's headlined by Foundering. That's the biggest right-wing artist that's going to be performing there. You guys know Foundering, ragtime satirist, really cool right-wing performer. And he played last year, so he's blown up. He lampooned the Yay Heil Hitler song. So anyway, he's a good guy. We'll be rolling out the different artists as announcing them throughout the weeks. Patriot Jam is July 26th in Nashville, Tennessee. I gotta go live. I'll see you in the funny papers. Goodbye.